On today's show, it's the first game day at the CTC this preseason. The Senators taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And the Senators make their first round of cuts, sending all but one of their junior eligible players back to their respective teams.
We'll let you know who that player is and get back to our organizational value rankings. This is Locked On Sens.
I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Gotta let you know today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. You can find us free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Today is Tuesday, September 24th, and Pilsy, I am wearing way too much blue for a game day against the Leafs.
Yeah, what's going on with that, Ross? Come on.
That's actually so embarrassing.
There we go.
There we go.
You switched allegiances back to the Sens.
All right. Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs learned their lesson from putting their NHL roster out and losing in overtime in Game 1. It is a very AHL-heavy opponent, but the Ottawa Senators aren't going the Leafs route. It's a pretty split squad when you put together the roster we saw in Toronto and what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your top line, the big three, no spoilers, but Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, and Claude Giroux. And then on defense, pretty much Sanderson and Jensen. Those are your top two guys there.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to just name the top pair.
No.
Top pair tonight is Jake Sanderson with Travis Hamonic. We don't want to alarm people when they walk into the CTC and start seeing line rushes at warmups. It is Sanderson with Hamonic. Now, Artem Zub didn't skate, hasn't played in either of the first two preseason games, so let's just hope it's a placeholder situation there, right? Like, that's the only rational way that you can wrap your head around this.
Yeah, and that's what I think it is, and maybe it's just Travis Green being like, look, we know Sandy's going to be good. We know Hamonic's a veteran guy. We kind of know what we have from him. We know those two have already played together as well. So let's just put them out there and we'll try some stuff with some of the other players. That's how I'm looking at it. But for a second, Ross, part of me was like, oh God, what if they're thinking of spreading out the D, Sanderson, Hamonic, like Shabbat, who would Shabbat Zub, Shabbat Zub, and then Clevin Jensen. Like, what if they're trying to spread the wealth? I don't love that idea, but I really don't think that's the case. Let's just all take a deep breath. It's a Zub placeholder. Is Zub back to being a mythical creature? Not playing in the first two games. We haven't really heard much from him. Is he
DJ
back?
Smith coaching?
Yeah. Is he back to the forests of Russia? I don't know.
No, if you follow his wife's Instagram, is just like an Ottawa tourism ad. Just loves all the parks, Dow's Lake, the Tulip Festival, everything.
Hopefully she's tagging the Allmarks.
And Kirill, because our guy, that's his son's name, Artem, the Zub child, loves monster trucks. Our guy, Kevin Hemina, said the whole Zub family took in the monster trucks when they came to Ottawa. So they're taking in the culture in Ottawa. No, Zub is an Ottawa man now. He's no longer a mythical creature, but we would very much like to have him back on the ice. So, too, do we feel this way about Linus Ullmark? That I'm not worried about.
Not worried.
16 days away from the opener, and all we've been told is it's maintenance. Who knows? Maybe it's off-ice things, getting settled in. We know that the Senators' number one priority with Ullmark is making sure that him and his family are settled in. So, the best time to take maybe a day or two would be when they have 5 goalies at camp, okay? I think we can handle a day or two without Ullmark, but we certainly can't once the regular season starts. So whether it's just a little nick or whether it's something that's outside of a physical ailment, we just hope that Ullmark is ready to rock and roll in time for Game 1 against the Florida Panthers on October 10th. Of course, we'll be at that game. Shout out Section 321, one of my favorite sight lines from the CTC. We're also going to have our pregame party at the Glebe Central Pub. We're taking the shuttle. We got 13 tickets with our group, and we've got a whole lot more because there's 2 buses coming to take the good people pilgrimage to the CTC. And make sure you get your tickets, GLEBECentralPub.com. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be there about 2 p.m., and the bus leaves just after 5:30. But now I'm getting ahead of myself, Pillsy. Let me screech onto the brakes. And by the way, you can watch the game tonight at the Glebe Central Pub. But let's rewind to this morning's skate where the Ottawa Senators have put out their lineup. Shout out to Claire Hanna, first on the beat today with the Ottawa Senators lines. If you're heading to the game, this is what you can expect. Tim Stützle between Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux. Ridley Gregg between David Perron and Nick Cousins. Zach Ostapchuk between Matthew Highmore and Tyler Boucher. And Garrett Pillon between Cole Reinhardt and Hayden Hodgson. On defense, it's Jake Sanderson and Travis Hamonic. It's Philip Roos and Nick Jensen. And it's Jeremy Davies with JBD. Now, Max Gannett was also rotating in, but since Gannett got to play in the first game, we've put him on the outside looking in as the extra. Anton Forsberg expected to start in goal. Matt Sogard out there with that group this morning. Group 2 is about to skate, so we'll see if we can get those lines at the end of today's show. If not, follow us at Sens Central. Pillsy, Sens Central, locked on player to watch tonight.
Ooh, okay. I can go with Tyler Boucher.
Okay.
Anytime he's healthy and on the ice, I want to see how he's doing. He's going to get to play in an NHL lineup. I think this is a nice line they've got him on with Highmore and Ostapchuk. That very well could be a line in Belleville. That wouldn't surprise me. So I'm going to be looking out for number 54, Tyler Boucher. And Ross, before I get your locked on players, we can continue with the lines as Claire Hanna tweeted out the power play units as well. Do you want me to read through those now, or you want to hit your locked on player first?
Well, it's Travis Hamonic. It's got to be. He had off-season surgery. Is he feeling better? Is he an NHL player? No, jokes aside, it's going to be Ridley Gregg for me. I think that he's poised to take a big step forward this year.
Yep.
Got really comfortable in what was close to a full season. Yeah, tapered off at the end, to be expected for a young player with the production. However, I think that having David Perron on his line, sure, like you look at this line right away, Greg, Perron, Cousins, and it is the most annoying line you can have. That is definition, get under your skin, ratty, pesty, but also there's some sneaky skill between Ridley Gregg, and he's going to have to carry that offensive output because David Perron is a good guy down low, in tight, all that. But he's not going to be able to manipulate offense as they're coming in transition and entering the zone. So Ridley Gregg's going to have to take on a lot of responsibility of being the main puck handler in open ice. So that's what I'm going to be watching for tonight with Ridley Gregg.
Question. How do we feel about Ridley Gregg being placed as a centerman? Because then you start thinking, well, wait, why don't they have him on the wing? Because that's most likely where he's going to play, unless you're looking at Ridley Gregg as a fourth line center, or you're looking at Josh Norris moving over to the wing. Like, does Ridley being in the center give you pause and spiral you into these questions like it's doing to me right now? Or is this just a, hey, it's preseason, let's see how this works kind of thing?
Well, are we overreacting to day 2 line combinations now, Pillsy? Because we can.
Oh, well, what are line combinations made for if not overreactions, Ross? It's like lists. They only are made to get mad at.
Well, I think what we look at here is what we saw in the first preseason game when there was a line of Pinto and Batherson with Angus Crookshank. Now, we love Crooker, but doesn't that almost feel like a placeholder for Josh Norris?
What do you mean?
Like,
oh, if Norris was on the wing there?
Exactly. Or you move Pinto. I would keep Pinto at center. I honestly would keep Josh Norris at center. And that's what Travis Green has at least told the media. But maybe this is also, again, just getting a separate look because Ridley can play the wing. But this isn't new, Pillsy. Last year, too, there were times where you're like, oh, is Greg going to move over to the wing? They really like him at center.
Yes, but they like him at center when Norris and or Pinto isn't there. When Norris and or Pinto are there, typically he hasn't got a lot of time at center.
Strength down the middle, though, if you're running Stützle, Norris, Pinto, Gregg.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. I want Greg playing more than 8 minutes a night.
If he's playing second PK, second power play maybe, all of a sudden he's probably up at 14, 15 minutes, and you never know within the flow of the game because, I mean, that line has an identity, and that's something the Senators needed more of, right?
Yes.
So if this is your fourth line, yeah, you probably don't want David Perron making $4 million on your fourth line, but in terms of creating depth on your team, like, I think this could be one way to do it, and it's really an interesting idea. I give Travis Green credit if that's where he's thinking, because you're creating something you haven't had in a decade where you have 4 lines that you can roll at any given time.
Yeah, which is definitely a luxury the Senators will want. I'll just quickly read the power play lines here, Ross, because both our players will make an appearance on the second unit. So the first unit, Tkachuk in front of the net, obviously, and then you got Giroux, Perron, Stützle, and Sanderson quarterbacking that. That's going to be exciting to watch. I think Perron on that first unit is probably a Batherson placeholder, but I like him being on the power play, Ross, because like we always talk about, he's a guy that keeps plays alive on the board. So that's a nice guy to have to keep that alive. And then you look at the second unit where it's Tyler Boucher in front of the net. I like that with Nick Cousins, Ostapchuk, and Greg. And then our guy, Davies, who we talked about, could have some power play opportunities. He's going to get a chance to quarterback that unit. So interesting to see how those will shake out in this matchup. Hopefully we get to see a lot of power play time for the Sens in this game.
Yeah, it'd be great to see Davies kind of jump into the mix here as a third lefty option. Because as much as we know Tyler Kleven is the favorite for that position, don't think Philip Roos and Jeremy Davies, 2 high-earning AHL players with different skill sets, aren't thinking, hey, there's a spot available that if we play well enough, we can jump into. Davies had 40 points, double-digit goals last year in the AHL. He's 25, 20, or 27 or 28, I believe. Like, these guys are a little bit older, a little more mature, and we know that the Ottawa Senators' focus was adding veterans to the mix. Now, do these guys count as vets? No, but have they had more experience than Tyler Kleven? Yeah, for sure. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that the more the time goes on, that left third pair D, that spot's open for competition this training camp. We'll see who gets the front leg up in this game. Tyler Kleven, of course, played in game 1. You know who played in both? Cole Reinhardt. Billsy, is that what a 4-point game will do to a man? Another extra look here for Cole Reinhardt?
Well, apparently not. Otherwise, our guy Jan Yannick would be here as well.
Well, you got to get Peelsy into a game, right?
Yes, yeah, no, that is good to see Peelsy there. And you know what? I think Reinhardt deserved another look, so I think that's fair. And you can only give so many guys extra looks, so.
The Ottawa Senators will host the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight at 7 o'clock at the CTC. We'll take a quick look at the Leafs lineup after a quick break, and then we will get to our first round of cuts. The Senators posting it late yesterday afternoon. And what does it mean? Who's still here? That conversation and our organizational value rankings. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. Started off with 3 best friends going after their dreams, and with hard work and dedication, they got 4 stores in the Ottawa area. You can check them out at Riverside, South Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. Mary J's offers the best and newest products in the market. They're adding new stuff to the menu every week to keep it fresh. They got everything you need, whether you're a rookie looking to dip your toe in or you're a grizzled vet and you know what you want and you want to be in and out of there quick. They got competitive pricing. In fact, they're going to price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around when you shop at a Mary J's. And you got to have good service, and they have some of the friendliest bud tenders around who are always ready to help you out. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan. He's usually at one of the stores, so go say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Sens and all the latest, greatest products that Mary J's has to offer, and check out their website and get started on their loyalty program. Check it out, guys, Mary J's.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Yesterday on FanDuel, I told you that Jake Sanderson Norris odds are at plus 12,000, not plus 1,200, plus 12,000. And on America's #1 sportsbook, you can get into the action for everything. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, You can check out the latest stats, live play-by-play, and so much more from the page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a first $5 bet. So you go to FanDuel, you create an account, Locked On, and all of a sudden you make a $5 bet and you get $200 in bonus bets just like that. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. Sportsbook of the NFL, sportsbook of Locked On. It is FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Billsy, we are game day ready for the Ottawa Senators taking on the Toronto Marlies. Pretty much, it is not a very NHL-heavy roster. The Leafs are bringing out the lines. David Kampf at first-line center between Matthew Nyes and Alex. Don't call me Willie Nylander. The second line, it's Pontus Holmberg between Bobby McMahon and Nick Robertson. It's Quillen, Hervinen, and Steves. And then we got Logan Shaw, former captain of the Belleville Sens, centering Easton Cowan and Nikita Grebenkin. On the back end, it's Simon Benoit and Connor Timmins. We got Dakota Mermis with Philippe Myers and Marshall Refi with Matanen. On the back end, in goal, and no, this is not a typo, both goalies are listed as number 41 on the Leafs roster. So one guarantee, number 41 will play for the Leafs tonight. Watch, the guy not wearing 41 will play. But it's either Anthony Stolars or Dennis Hildeby. Pilsy, a quick lookout player to watch.
You know what? I'm going to be looking out for Easton Cowan. The Leafs fans are really kind of championing him as one of their top prospects. Obviously, London Knights development guy. He's been popping off every time I seem to see him. So Easton Cowan, even though he's on the fourth line there, I'm going to be looking out for him.
All right, I'll go with Bobby McMahon. It feels like he's going to take a step forward this year. He really impressed last year. 15 goals in his first NHL season in 56 games. So nice. I'll be looking out for Bobby McMahon when the puck drops tonight at the Canadian Tire Center. 2, 3, 4 guys who won't be there. The CHL eligible players for the Ottawa Senators. The Senators announcing yesterday that they have made cuts and gone are Matthew Andonovski, Lucas Ellenis, both to the Kitchener Rangers. Gabriel Eliasson and Philip Nordberg have also been moved to their respective teams. Pilsy, are you surprised that none of those guys got one preseason game?
Well, let's start with the Kitchener Sens. I mean, you're looking at your captain and assistant captain, so I imagine every day Kitchener general manager has been calling the Sens, being like, all right, let us have our captain and assistant captain back. Let's go here. So they're going back to Kitchener. And then with Nordberg and Eliasson, that raised a lot of eyebrows for people being like, wait a second, where are they even playing? We don't even know where they're playing. It seems like Nordberg is going to be in Sioux Falls, right?
With Javon Moore, Sioux Falls Sens. With
Javon Moore. So that'll be fun. And then your guy, Ross, Gabriel Eliasson.
My son.
Okay, your son. The lookalikes is uncanny between you and Eliasson.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that.
Yeah, but what's going on with him?
Yeah, it sounds like likely the Barrie Colts. Import players can't be traded until I believe the season starts, which for the OHL is tomorrow. WHL already got going, but the OHL season
I thought it was begins, the 26th.
25th is the Spitfires and Saginaw Spirit. They'll raise the Memorial Cup banner and all that in Saginaw. And then Kingston plays in Peterborough on Thursday. And then Friday night is when it is officially all the way back. So will Gabriel Eliasson be in the Barrie Colts lineup? That's what a lot of people are saying. And I think it'll be great. Your neck of the woods, Pilsy. Yeah, you'll get a few live looks of him this year. And just excited to get those guys back on the ice. Because Nordberg, Eliasson, those are two big men who are going to need some development time. So I feel like USHL, OHL, there's still a lot of runway here. Don't rush them. And I'm glad that they didn't put them in NHL games where you could potentially ruin their confidence, where now they're just being sent home with all the information that they need to be even more ready next year when they get a chance at NHL camp. So Yeah, I'm not too surprised that they didn't get an NHL game. There's just so many guys that can't. Like, you think of Jorian Donovan and Tomas Shamara. Those guys haven't even been able to get in to one of the 2 first games, right? So there's just so many guys, especially at that left side on the blue line, that Andonovski, Eliasson, and Norberg, it just, with their ages, they're all 19. I think Norberg just turned 20. This is overage year. There's no room. So
Yeah,
it's good, but it's almost as notable. The one who didn't go back, Carter Yakimchuk, is still here. We talked about it at length yesterday. We posted a short. You can go see that on our YouTube or any of our socials. He earned himself another game, and I think he gets that Thursday.
Yeah, I hope so, Ross. It'll be interesting to see if he's paired with Shabbat again. Travis Green made it very clear that that was his intention. He wants Shabbat to be able to mentor Yakimchuk, and I think that's great. That's why you bring in these young guys and give them a little bit more of a leash to get them that experience, and you want someone, a veteran like Shabbat, to be able to help them out. So I think that's great. And yeah, I think he probably gets one more game, Ross, and then back to junior, I think.
So even though the WHL has started, funny enough, the Calgary Hitmen are the only WHL team that hasn't played a game yet.
There we go. When's their first game? Do you know?
Their first game is the 28th, so this Saturday. So
yeah,
play Thursday, travel Friday. You're in the lineup on Saturday for the opener where they're going to play in Edmonton. So I would love that. We'll see. Maybe he takes that day off just to get reacclimated, and then they play Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. So they're right back into the classic junior schedule. But good on Carter Yakimchuk, man. He's turned heads at this camp. Clearly, he's impressed head coach Travis Green, and he's impressed a lot of fans with that overtime winner against the Leafs on Sunday night. You're so used to with hockey saying on Saturday night, it just felt weird. I had to double check that. Yes, the game was on Sunday. What about the organizational value rankings? Those are Monday through Friday pretty much right now on Locked On Sens. And on the other side, we will continue our countdown. We will end today at number 20, the top 20, and we are only 16 days away from the Senators' home opener of the regular season against the Florida Panthers. So much excitement in Sensland. The off-season champions once again, but can they actually bring it in to the regular season? The players we're about to talk about could play a big role of whether it's a mediocre or a playoff team. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September.
I say, does it?
Yeah, I mean, you only have 1 weekend left here. So make sure you capitalize on that. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. If you want to play Prize Picks along some famous celebrities, Drewski, Joe Budden, Sugar Sean O'Malley, you can find community plays under the promo tabs on the apps. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNHL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform to search for the best candidates, and to search, you don't search at all. You match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. It's your monthly 350 million global visitors, so you know that their matching engine will help you find quality candidates and fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Not just faster either. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of Locked On Sens, you're entitled to a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Sens. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, Billsy, 7 p.m. tonight, game day, Ottawa Senators, Toronto Maple Leafs. We are just inching ever so close to the regular season. Still about a week and a half left of preseason hockey. The rest of the schedule is against Buffalo at home on Thursday, and first, let me finish the schedule, but we have 2 sets of tickets to give away for that game. I'll tell you how in a moment. On Tuesday, at Montreal, next Friday at Detroit, and then at home Saturday, October 5th against the Montreal Canadiens. We'll wrap up preseason. Those are the games in Ottawa or on the road. And next Sunday, the 29th, it's a special Hockeyville game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pilsy, this is becoming a bit of a tradition. They played Pittsburgh in Halifax last year, and now they're going up to Sudbury to play them this time.
Yeah, interesting that it's Sens and Penguins. I wonder if there's a reason for that. I mean, the East Coast one, I was just about to say, made sense, but I don't know about the Sudbury connections.
Well, Crosby's just the face of the league, and the community is Elliott Lake.
Is Crosby the face of the league?
Yeah, come on.
Ever heard of Connor McDavid?
Crosby's got 3 cups and a whole lot of hardware in his trophy.
Huh? Embrace debate. Is Crosby the face of the league or is Connor McDavid?
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Or
Sound
Brady
off
Tkachuk.
in the comments. Brady Tkachuk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some are saying.
Yeah.
All right, back to our organizational value rankings. Coming in at number 23, it is Noah Gregor. Pilsy, why is he making his debut at number 23?
He's making his debut because this is his first year as an Ottawa Senator. He was signed as a free agent in the offseason. We got him at 23 because it really seemed like this was a guy that they signed to hold down that 4th line center spot. However, we've seen there's going to be some good competition with that, with Jan Jenik having a really good showing. So it's not necessarily locked that Noah Gregor is going to have that spot, but he certainly has the edge when it comes to experience, Ross. 6 seasons, 241 NHL games. Last year with the Toronto Maple Leafs in 63 games, 6 goals, 6 assists, good for 12 points. He did make it into 2 playoff games with the Leafs last year, but most of his career, other than last year, I should say, has been with the San Jose Sharks organization, where in 2021-22, he put up 23 points in 63 games on a Sharks team. So he has been able to put up a little bit more points than he did in Toronto, probably playing higher in the lineup in San Jose, obviously. But this is a guy who seems like he's got a little bit more speed and he's more defensively minded. So this could be a nice 4th line center for the Sens.
And the thing with Noah Gregor is that separating attribute, speed. Now, his finishing ability is at the bottom of the barrel. It just feels like he puts himself in a lot of good situations to score and can't necessarily bury. You read out the stats for last year, and it just feels like that's probably to be expected this year as well. I think what you're just hoping to do is not give up more when he's out on the ice, right? You're hoping that his defensive abilities and being able to catch up at both ends of the ice, using that speed that is high end, no matter where you place him in the league, he's got high end speed. I'm excited to see how he kind of molds this bottom 6 that last year was just too slow, too inconsistent, and just couldn't get on top of pucks. They felt like they're a bit of a turnstile out there. So I'm excited to see if Noah Gregor can add a little bit of juice to that bottom six. Now, it wasn't an impressive preseason debut for him, but he's 26 years old. First preseason game is not the be-all or end-all after signing a one-way ticket at $850K. You just want him to be a responsible penalty killer and a guy who you can count on to not give up more than he gives every time he's out on the ice.
Yeah, I think that perfectly sums up what we're expecting from Noah Gregor.
And the thing with Noah Gregor, like, I already feel like we can move on. It's a low maintenance, like a guy we're not going to discuss much all season. Honestly, the less we discuss him probably means he's playing better and better.
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but if he can be like a Dylan Gambrell, that's probably what you're looking for, right? Like, Dylan Gambrell was not an exciting player, but if Gambrell was used on a fourth line, which unfortunately he was higher in the lineup than he should have been, that's the type of player you're looking for here.
Noah Gregor comes in at number 23 on our Locked On Senators organizational value rankings. And now we move on to number 22 on our OVRs. It's Anton Forsberg, 32 years old, coming off a very down season. But, Pilsy, we've seen it before. This guy can stop the puck.
I am very confident, Ross, that we're not going to see a similar season to this. But, I mean, even you look at 30 games played, a 3.21 goals against average, and an 890 save percentage, you're probably thinking, oh, man, this guy lost a lot of games last year. He still had a winning record, like 15, 12, and 0. Obviously, you'd like better numbers in goals against and save percentage, but he's winning more games than he lost last year, which is pretty impressive, actually, when you start thinking about it. But the Anton Forsberg we want is the Anton Forsberg we got in 2021, 2022, the year that led to him signing that 3-year deal where he was a 282 and a 917 save percentage. And I think he can get back to that, Ross. We've talked about it. He did have the double, was it MCL or ACL? MCL, I think, right?
Double MCL, correct.
Yeah, where he tore both his MCLs at the same time. Obviously, that's a serious injury. Now, I'm not suggesting that slowed him down, or it didn't look like that hindered him last season. But I think once you get another year removed from an injury like that, that's bound to help you. And I just think now that it's very clear that Ullmark's going to be your starter and Forsberg's going to be your backup, whereas last year, I think the idea was Korpisalo was going to be the 1A and Forsberg is going to be the 1B, and then Korpisalo didn't work, and then it kind of flipped the other way, and it wasn't clear. I think that's really going to help Forsberg having a more defined role and lightened workload.
And one thing you can never take away from Anton Forsberg is the work ethic. Always first guy out there, always seemingly the first guy at the rink. And you look at the summer, he was in Ottawa for most of it, and I think that really shows his dedication to getting those goals against and save percentage numbers back to the average for his career. There's a reason why he was 16th on our OVRs last year and 11th 2 years ago when he earned that contract that he's now in the final year of at $2.75 million. He made his debut on our organizational value rankings at 37 back in 2021 when he was just a waiver claim. But you looked at the highs of him when he's moving laterally well and he's not allowing rebounds. He is such a sound goalie. Like, he's so in control of everything out there that he gives the team a ton of confidence ahead of him. He just had a few starts to games where the team wasn't ready and he wasn't ready, and all of a sudden it was 3-4-0 and he was getting the hook. I feel like he got pulled in the first period 3 times last year at least. Like, there were a couple games where
so did Corpy.
Yeah, true. So maybe that's a little osmosis. You get him with Ullmark. You know, they've got connections from back when they played junior together.
Swedes.
I think
we tried to do the connection spin zone with Corpy and Forsberg in Cleveland. It didn't work.
We just had to go further back. They knew each other too recently. This is that youthful exuberance, that childish, fun, kindled spirit that we're hoping to have here with Forsberg and Linus Ullmark. But you're right. That win-loss record is outrageous that he won more than he lost.
Ross, I've got a bit of a hot take here.
Go ahead.
Do we want Anton Forsberg playing the home opener? He's 3-0 in home openers.
No.
Isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is, but he's not playing this one. He's not playing this one.
No, you're not even thinking about it?
No, he's not playing this one.
All right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it in my mind.
If he's playing the home opener, I'll be officially worried about Linus Ullmark's health.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be a Sens season if the newly acquired starting goaltender wasn't injured to start the year.
Well, sounds like we need to change up the vibe.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we could go for something different. But look, if they went with Forsberg in the home opener, I would be surprised and disappointed not to see Ullmark, but he's a home opener guy. It's like an opening pitcher in baseball.
It's a hot take, I'll give you that, but I don't like it. Linus Ullmark has to play the home opener, but let's just see a better season from Anton Forsberg. I'm convinced he will have one. I'm looking at it over 900 save percentage. Anything above that, gravy. I think he plays 28 games is my guess. Where do you think you're at with Forsberg's workload?
I'll go 30.
Okay, exactly what he had last year. And this year, Forsberg is number 22 on our Locked On Senators organizational value rankings. All right, coming in at number 21, it's JBD. Yeah, you know me. And he had a 72-game NHL sample size this year. 4 goals, 14 points. Pilsy, where are you at with a guy who's bounced around our OVRs and settles here in the top 20s?
Yeah, JBD is an interesting player, as you mentioned, or I think you mentioned that he's been on our list this entire time. In 2020, all the way up at 17. 2021, move up to 15, then 21, then 25, and now he's back at 21. With Jacob Bernard-Docker, Ross, what I'm looking at with him is we always thought he was going to be a partner for Thomas Chabot. Now, that's not totally over, but it's probably less likely. I don't think he has what it takes to be a top 4 defenseman, which is unfortunate, but that happens as young defensemen develop. So it was always, what is JBD going to do to make himself a serviceable NHL defenseman? And last year, Ross, JBD found what he needed, and that is blocking shots. Jacob Bernard-Docker led the Ottawa Senators in block shots with 156 of them. Jacob Chychrun had 2 less, but then you start looking down the list. Jake Sanderson, 139, Artem Zub, 122. So Bernard-Docker was really laying it on the line, and I think that got him a lot of credit and a lot of respect in the room. And if he can continue to do that while staying healthy, obviously, if you're blocking 156 shots, your chances of getting injured skyrocket. So if he can keep doing that effectively, I think that's going to carve himself a nice bottom pair role.
He just needs to be more confident transporting the puck. That's the next big step for Jacob Bernard-Docker. But you mentioned the shot blocking. Get this. Shots blocked per 60 minutes of ice time. Jacob Bernard-Docker is almost identical as Chris Tanev last year.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a good way to put it. And we talk
about him as a guy who was always laying it out. It just felt like he almost did it quietly in a way. And I'm sure the black and blue bruises, there's a tongue twister for you, that aren't so quiet for JBD. But certainly the teammates understand how hard that job is to lay it out physically. JBD also threw a few sneaky big hits last year. That'd be nice if he could continue trending towards that direction. We know that fun stat where he had the most goals from the top right corner of the offensive zone this season. I don't expect that again next season, but I think that you're looking these types of players that take a little bit longer to develop. I think that you're lucky he didn't get claimed last year on waivers. He was able to go find his game and then ultimately play 72 NHL games. And we'll see what he can do this year. He's in the final year of his contract at $805,000. JBD comes in at number 21 on our organizational value rankings. At number 20, it's Angus Crookshank. Angus Crookshank. The photo doesn't want to load for me. I got a real nice one here for you too. But
yeah, let's get Crooker in there.
He's 25 years old, and he's at the point now in his career where it's time to make the NHL. Don't you feel that way? I know he doesn't need waivers. He's got one more year without waivers. But I think that if you're Crooker and you're the competitive guy that he is, he's expecting to make the opening night roster.
Yeah, and that should be his goal. Like you mentioned, he's at that point in his career, which is that should be his goal. Like JBD, he's been on our organizational value rankings the entire time, going from 45 to 30 to 31 to 29, and now all the way up at 20. And that's because he had a great year last year. 50 games, 24 goals, 22 assists, 46 points. So almost at a point per game pace here. Now, Ross, I feel like we've had this discussion. I'm so conflicted on what Angus Crookshank's path to the NHL will be, because the Ottawa Senators have the depth now where there's not an open spot on that third line anymore, in my opinion, with Perron and Amadio coming in and Ridley Gregg looking like he can obviously be a full-time NHLer. And then if Norris and...
Well, Crooker probably said uncle when Cousins got signed.
Yeah, well, yeah. But here's the thing, and this leads into my debate here. I still don't think Angus Crookshank being a fourth-line NHL player makes a whole lot of sense. No, I don't think he's able to do what he... I don't think 7 or 8 minutes is enough time to allow him to do what he's capable to do. And the players he's probably going to be playing with on the fourth line aren't exactly going to complement his game. Now, I'm not saying that Crooker can't adapt and he can't turn into that blue-collar guy, which he refers to himself as a blue-collar guy. Don't get this twisted as me not believing in Crookshank. Actually, it should be the other way. I have so much belief in Crookshank that I believe it wouldn't be proper to have him on a fourth line in the NHL. But then what do you do? Because he's probably not beating out anyone to be on the third line unless there's injuries, which you hope obviously doesn't happen. And then in Belleville, he's a top line player. So he's going to be going from playing, I don't know, 18, 20 minutes a night in Belleville to playing 6, 7, or 8 in the NHL. So I just have a tough time placing Angus Crookshank on the NHL lineup.
That's fair. Now, he's almost a perfect, and nothing was perfect about his injury. It sucked. It was a long road back, but because of that, even though he's 24, turning 25, he doesn't need waivers. So he is almost the ultimate, hey, start in the minors, but we know that you're capable of playing in the NHL. And when an injury happens in the top 9 then, or wherever, you feel confident with the depth of having him as a potential call-up. Like, the numbers jump out in the AHL. I put the star there. He was an all-star in the American Hockey League last year. 46 points in 50 games, including 24 goals, 60 PIMs. This guy, despite being 5'10", isn't scared of anybody. I just think that he's the kind of guy that you don't want to bet against because he'll make you look foolish.
Yeah, agreed. And he got his opportunity in the NHL, Ross. 13 games. He scored 2 goals, had 1 assist. And you can see the differences in his 2 call-ups, right? Because those were 2 separate call-ups. He got called up at the end of the...
Right when the team was in utter turmoil.
Yeah, right before DJ Smith got fired. He got 1 game with DJ Smith. That was his NHL debut in Las Vegas. And you can see the differences here, Ross, because in that first stint, 10, 11 minutes for the first 2 games, and then down to the fourth line, 8, 5, 8, 9, and 8. Okay, then he gets sent back down, and he struggles a little bit when he gets back to Belleville. But then after that, the next 15, I think he went on like, is almost like a 15-game point streak in Belleville. He's lighting it up, so he gets called up again. And then you see he gets that third line. Even he had a little bit of a second line time, 13 minutes, 15 minutes, 12 minutes, 10 minutes. So he was getting more of an opportunity there. And I thought that's where he really shined. And we got to see what Angus Crookshank could do. So if it comes to that type of opportunity again, then I think that's a good spot for Crooker to be in.
Nobody's going to work harder than Crooker. Coming in at number 20 on our OVRs, was 29 last year, 31 the year before, 30 in 2021. And yeah, he's one of those 17 guys who's been on our list each and every year. He organizational value ranking started back at number 45 in 2020. So that's our top, 21 through 64, 20 through 64. We have been counting down all the way, and Pillsy, the countdown continues because we've got the top 20, and dare I say that these are the unanimous top 20 most important players in the organization.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe Some people would argue about where we place them, but I think for the most part, the top 20 is the top 20.
Well, we'll continue that tomorrow. We've also got a fantastic Sens Central Citizen for you tomorrow. Reminder, if you missed any of our shows, we're back to 5 days a week, so there's a lot of content coming your way, including last week's interview with Chris Phillips, overreacting to day one line combinations, or if you want to relive the feeling of that Carter Yakimchuk overtime winner, you can check out yesterday's show. Tomorrow, again, Citizen. Later in the week, could have a big guest. We are just continuing the vibes up to the opening day of the regular season. Go check out our Twitter later this afternoon. We're going to be giving away 2 pairs of tickets to the Ottawa Senators game this Thursday. And not only, Pillsy, I think I buried the lead by just saying 2 pairs of tickets, right?
Yeah, these aren't just any tickets. You get 2 sets of 2 tickets. So that's 4 tickets.
So
am I reading that right?
Two pairs of tickets.
Yeah. And you get a parking pass, and it's in the 200 level suite. You get a private bathroom. Ooh. Courtesy of our friends over at Gator Promotions. If you like our merch, that's where our merch is from. So awesome opportunity here to get some nice tickets.
Yes, the poll will go up, not poll, but the tweet will go up later on this afternoon, and we will have it all set for you by tomorrow and get you those tickets ahead of Thursday. Pillsy, in lieu of final thoughts, Group 2 is on the ice. Artem Zub and Josh Norris, both present.
You'll love to hear that. Just like I've always said, Ross, never in doubt about Josh Norris's injury concerns. Never in doubt.
Still no sign of Linus Ullmark, but we have plenty of time to go. But good news, Josh. Good news, Josh Norris back on the ice, looking as though he is just in his regular routine. Less is more when it comes to news around Josh Norris. Of course, we'd like to see him in a preseason game or two, but does feel a little different than last year, because last year I think he was still wearing the non-contact jersey. Remember, he's like, oh, I don't have to, or he doesn't have to wear it, but we're just to be safe. But he's out there regular jersey, so it's all good news. We'll have an update for you again tomorrow. It feels like we'll do our daily Josh Norris update. For today, we say goodbye. Thanks so much for watching, listening, engaging with the show. Those 5-star reviews, we've noticed a few come in on Apple Podcasts. It does really go a long way to helping the growth of the show. So if you could please just take 2 seconds, write Zoob and put 5 stars, it does go a long way for us. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.